afternoon, and welcome to another episode of Real Estate Talk with Lisa. I am your host, Lisa Jeffery. I'm a realtor in the DMV area. I'm with Fairfax Realty Elite out of the Greenbelt office, also a member of the fabulous senior team. You can always reach me directly, 301-542-5168. Email is right now, lisajeffrey38@gmail.com. If you're watching us for the first time, welcome to the show. If you are a returning viewer, we are so glad that you decided to tune in and see us one more time. Now, if you're watching us right now, you're watching us on the WBGR network, on Facebook Live. You're either watching us on the Gospel channel or on the Wellness Network. You can also get archived episodes of our show there, but also on the show's actual Facebook page, Real Estate Talk with Lisa, and on our YouTube channel, Real Estate Talk with Lisa. And as you can see, I am not alone. And so today we're welcoming to our show Dr. Mary Johnson. She has her PhD in math. I know that scares a lot of you all, and so part of our show today is going to be taking a little of the fear out of that, because you know our motto for our show is opening the door with keys of independence. Okay? And so we look to educate, empower, and motivate you to action. And I'm sure Dr. Johnson will agree that math is a primary key to building wealth. Because if you can't count the money, you can't really, have a good idea about how to get it and how to manage it once you have it. So we're going to talk about it from the beginning aspects of learning math skills and those practical applications in life. And we also will have a call-in guest, and we'll introduce him right before he calls in. So we have a really power-packed show for you today. As we say on our show, preparation plus education, which is what you do with time. If we put that in parentheses under time, plus motivation, on the other side of that equal sign of that equation is your new home, your new investment property, whatever real estate dream that you have. We try to focus on real estate, buying, selling, renting. We deal with housing issues, senior housing, veteran housing, returning citizens, and community building. And today our focus is on some community building because we've been doing a piece. We did a piece a couple of weeks ago, Dr. Johnson, on the National Association of Black Women in Construction, NABWIC. And they had partnered along with DDOT with Cardozo High School for their industry day, for their STEM program. And so we were able to interview them, attend the event, and do a follow-up, and just talking about preparing young people for our infrastructure, because whenever you're talking about a new development, you've got to have infrastructure, you've got to have trained workforce to do that.
Yes.
And I believe you've got some things going on with some STEM groups too. I was looking at your site. Was it STEM Warriors?
Yes, it's Metro Warriors.
Metro Warriors. Okay.
Yes,
okay.
Robotics.
Okay.
Yeah.
And if we excuse me, if we watch some of the cable channels where they have some of the big machines and the different machines, we'll see how robotics is really changing industry.
Yes.
Even in the construction field. So we see that everywhere. So those skills are definitely needed. I don't think they can do it without that math. Correct?
Right. We, Mr. Brian Coleman and I worked together at the Washington Tennis and Education Foundation, and at the time, Mr. A.B. Morgan was the program coordinator, and he bought into the program, and he carried it on. And
excellent.
So we've had students that participate in competitions and all that. So Mr. Morgan has done a great job with the students with robotics.
Excellent. And so one thing I do want to share with the audience and share with you, because you may not have seen some of the episodes, is that we've talked about budgeting on this show. We've talked about, I've had lenders in to talk about debt to income ratio and what that means and how you derive that and why that's important. We always talk about the credit score. We talk about when you're looking at programs, sometimes your money has to be in a certain category to get that with respect to the ratios. A lot of times people that have been victims of foreclosure got there because they didn't understand the math involved in the loan product that they were getting. And they just saw at the end of the rainbow the house. So they're like, okay, what do we sign?
Yes.
The guy's telling you stuff and you're like, uh-huh. Uh-huh. And then you don't ask questions because I think you mentioned something about fear and math with people.
Yes.
Can you
that's
share?
our formula. That's my formula.
Oh, really?
Yes. My formula for success in learning math is subtract fear, but I start with add confidence. And the way you add confidence is to subtract fear.
That's right.
And the next step is to, as you add in confidence, you multiply your efforts. And that's a part that people don't want to talk about, multiplying your efforts.
That's right.
And I remember when I was doing my book, A Formula for Success in Learning Math, which was published by Pearson Customs publisher.
Oh, that's a big education publisher there.
Yeah, they did that book. So I was, the editor would say, Dr. Johnson, can you stop some of these multiple effort times? I said, we have to have effort times. She said, can you stop some of those efforts? And can we just say effort time? Yeah, effort time.
You said, because you was taking it to infinity and beyond, right?
You got to have effort time, because that's something people don't understand. They think that, okay, I understand how to do this. And now what do I do? Now you're going to practice, and you're going to look at problem solving with that, your application of what you've learned. If you don't do that part, don't put forth the effort there, and the effort of practice, and the effort of taking. The last part is divide your time. You've got to divide your time into hours, days, whatever. You're going to schedule time to study. You have to be there. That's the whole formula.
Even with math, if I'm hearing you correctly, you still got to integrate that time management.
Time management.
To apply yourself. And it's so funny. I have a quote that I like, and I can't remember who I heard it from, but they were saying preparation prevents poor performance. But what you're saying is also that practice prevents poor performance.
Yes.
But it also develops a certain facility in dealing with the work that you have in front of you, making it easier for you.
Right. Because, in class, when I teach the SAT prep, I have an SAT prep program. I'm doing the second edition of my book, Conquering SAT Math. And I have to do this revision because the test changed.
Yes, ma'am.
From before, when I did the first book. So what I'm doing now is helping the students to see, and I'm doing this right now in the Success Learning Math Center and at the Washington Tennyson Education Foundation, where I'm the math specialist there. It's an afternoon program, very effective math program. I've been there for several years, 15 or more years, and seen the students soar in math. They've done very well. So anyway, as I've looked at this in my new book, I'm putting in school math type problems.
Right.
SAT math type problems. Same concept.
Same concept.
Same concept, because the students and some of the teachers that I train too ask about that. They said, well, if they didn't have calculus on the SAT, maybe students would do. I said, there is no calculus on the SAT. Oh, then
yeah, I was
why
thinking,
is it
I
so
don't remember
hard
that.
then? Why is it so hard? And then they say, well, if they take, at that time didn't have trigonometry. Now they have a few trigonometry problems. If they take the trig, I said, at that time, there's no trigonometry on the SAT. Well, why is it so hard? And why is it so hard? Because it requires analytical reasoning skills.
Critical thinking.
Critical thinking skills that teachers don't have time or maybe the experience in developing that skill. And that's what I've done since I first started teaching. That's what I thought was a necessary thing many, many years ago. And was able to get a student to make a perfect score in the math in the 50s. In the 50s!
And I remember she told me this last night, and I'm thinking, in the 50s.
Yes.
Right now we have such an uproar going on in our school systems. And these, our children, as we're building our legacies, in terms of our wealth, in terms of our investments, in terms of getting ready to buy a home, we ourselves are passing on math and money lessons to our children.
Yes.
But sometimes the lessons that we're putting on or passing on may not be the best ones, because they're the lessons that we learned through experience, which was, kind of an expensive teacher, a difficult teacher, and it still may have left out some of the components that we need, that we basically, it was a survival. We survived it.
Yes.
But we have the opportunity now to provide our children with the critical thinking skills, especially in the arena of math, that will serve them academically in terms of the jobs that they can get. Because if you could teach somebody to get a perfect score on the SAT in the 50s, African American student,
yes, from the ghetto. And listen, that was just one case.
Okay, y'all listening?
I came to
Y'all
Washington,
listening?
D.C. and did the same thing. Came to Washington, D.C., worked in D.C., did the same thing.
Yeah.
And still,
And there are articles when you, after the show, if you go to the show page, Real Estate Talk with Lisa, we're going to link to Dr. Johnson's webpage and her Facebook page, because what we've brought to you today is someone who has proven time and time again with actual results you can go back and take a look at for your child coming up. You're passing on the lessons of wealth. You're teaching them, or should be teaching them, in the home now about whether it's entrepreneurship, having a business, having their eyes focused on a career that's going to take them beyond, so that when it's time for them to move out and get their home, become an investor, that they have a firm grasp of how systems work, about how the finances work. And that comes from having a grasp of money. And something else you said, we did an excerpt about a month or two ago, Secrets of the Millionaire Mind, and some of the lessons that we absorb about money and about math. And you touched on in your teaching about fear, about how that's such a component. And I know from a real estate standpoint, I run into that when I'm dealing with buyers and sometimes sellers. We did a short piece recently about buyer and seller fears. That fear is it's a poor master, but it's a common master.
Yes, and so you've got to get rid of it. But how do you get rid of it?
Yeah, because you can't just say, I'm not going to fear. I'm not going to fear. I'm not going to fear.
That's not going to do it.
That's not going to do it?
No, that's not going to do it.
Okay.
It's the way you get rid of fear. You need some mechanism, some people, some mentors to help you understand who you are and your capability, and build your confidence.
That's right.
That's what. Once you add confidence, you are subtracting fear.
That's right.
So that's why that's in that formula.
Mm-hmm.
Add confidence, subtract fear. You've got to do that.
You got to have the confidence, because even when I've been in different types of meetings, and not just related, because that fear thing and the confidence, it really does make an impact. Because how many times have you sat and had somebody explain something to you? If it could be getting a credit card, it could be non-math related, but somebody's explaining something to you, and you're afraid to tell them you don't understand. And you won't raise your hand and say, you know what I'm saying? But that's a fear, and then you go through with something, or you feel hindered when you didn't get the information, but it was partly because you were afraid.
Right, partly because you're afraid, and sometimes you don't know the right questions to ask.
That's very true.
So in your analytical reasoning skills development,
yes, ma'am,
you learn certain questions to ask, so that whatever it is, and to tell you the truth about your analytical skills development, this helps you in every area of your life.
Yes,
I solve problems in the house all the time. My husband said, how'd you get that to work? I said, well, I thought about it in a while, and then I saw some ways to do it. But you can, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, you have those skills. You have those questioning techniques. Yes. What is this? What is could you tell me what that is?
That's right. One
of the things I find out is that students don't know what they're doing in mathematics. They really don't know.
That's right.
And I've asked a question. One of my students that I taught earlier, who had done so well to make it all A's and all that, I said, okay, now you don't need me, I guess. I said, well, what do you study? He said, well, I'm studying complex numbers. So I said, well, what is that? What are they? What are complex numbers? He said, no, they didn't tell us that. I said, look, wait a minute. You said you're studying complex numbers, you're
Right.
working with complex numbers. You can't tell me what it is, but that's not unusual because if you ask students about anything, any topic, division. What is division? What is multiplication? What is anything that you ask them? That definition needs to be there. And that's what I do with Silma. Silma, I'm not creating new mathematics. I make that clear. What I'm doing is developing simplistic laws, which you may also call definitions, that students can understand, that make sense to them, and usually they are very short. Like that young man asked about a complex number, I told him in one sentence, and he said, "Oh, now did you? Oh, I see. Yeah. That's what it is." I said, "Yeah, that is what it is."
See?
In one sentence.
But that's what we need because the overcomplication keeps people from grasping the concept. We're going to take a break for just a moment. I have a guest on the line. His name is Ross Levine. He is the executive director of Roots of Mankind. And what they do, they're a certified HUD counseling organization, and he's a certified HUD counselor. And many of you on the show have heard me talk about the different grant programs and some of the Maryland mortgage programs. You need a certificate for that. You have to have a housing training class for that. Ross's organization also helps people that have been foreclosed on navigate that process of getting through that and also preparing to buy again. So we want to welcome Ross to our show. Let me see. Ross.
Yes, ma'am.
How you doing?
I'm doing great. How about yourself?
Excellent. So you're here with myself and Dr. Murray Johnson. And Dr. Johnson, I'd sent him some clips of you so he could see who you were.
Thank you.
Because I told him he's gonna be on the show with you. And Ross, I just shared the name of the organization, your organization, and explained that you provide HUD-Certified counseling training for those that need that certification for certain financial programs, and that you also assist with people that are navigating the foreclosure process, preparing to buy again after that, as well as other financial coaching with respect to real estate and the housing industry.
Yes, ma'am. That's exactly what we do. We provide first-time home buyer education. We also provide financial capability programs as well as we do rental counseling for borrowers, or should I say for borrowers that had to sell their home either through a short sale or through an unfortunate financial occurrence like a foreclosure.
Yes.
We would go ahead and offer borrowers rental counseling, similar to budget counseling, to show them that they can be able to go ahead and pay the rent on time and get them into a rent payment that meets their budget, and then of course counsel them. Eventually, hopefully, they'll come back and be home buyers again.
Excellent. And that was one of the things Dr. Johnson was just expounding on. We were discussing the need for critical thinking skills, analytical skills, which is part of what she teaches in her math training, both for students as well as teachers of math. Do you find the math portion of the counseling to be a challenge sometimes for your people that you counsel? Is that some of the hurdles that you deal with?
Yeah, that exactly is, because most people don't have a concept of what a budget is, or even how to put it together. So at the end of the day, once you go ahead and ask them how much money do they have at the end of the month, it's usually we have $0 or we're operating at a negative. And then you look at their paycheck stub and you look at how much money they're making each month, and you go through their expenses, and they're not mindful of putting a budget together, and they don't do budgeting, and math is definitely a critical part of that, knowing exactly how much money someone has at the end of the month, or actually how much someone makes, is so important today.
Exactly. Now, I want to shift gears just a little bit because we know that Maryland, as a state, is in the top 5 for foreclosures, and so when you're looking at that and you see people that are in foreclosure, are you finding that people are understanding the math involved with the loan that they're getting and how that impacts them in terms of the terms, when they're giving them the interest rate for now and what's going to happen later? Are they understanding in dollars and cents how that's going to impact them?
No, there are new laws that are in place that actually help a borrower understand the loan process and understand when they get to signing the loan documents that they know what they're signing. Prior to the CFPB and the new mortgage servicing standards, borrowers were going to the table and signing for loans and didn't understand exactly what they were signing for. For example, many borrowers that bought new construction homes, especially in Prince George's County, they would go ahead and they would purchase the property, and they would think that the real estate taxes were a certain amount, and once the property was constructed, and once they lived in there for a year, and the county came out to reassess the property based upon what the property was currently, what they actually bought it for, then they find that the real estate taxes go up tremendously. And when they bought the home, the real estate taxes were calculated at using a vacant lot, not having an improved building on the property. In addition to, they have what's called in Maryland a front foot benefit charge. And what that really is that's really a pass-through from a developer where they go ahead and they run the water and sewer into the community, and that is a annual fee, annual payment that a home buyer would have. And most of the time, for what I've seen with borrowers in distress and in foreclosure, most of these borrowers, had they known there was going to be that additional payment each year, most likely they would have went ahead and not bought a new construction home. So the math, knowing exactly how much of a monthly payment that they can afford, when I talk about a monthly payment, a housing payment, that includes the front foot benefit, the real estate taxes, the homeowner's insurance, and of course the principal and interest to pay back the loan.
Correct, and that's a good point that you're making. And another point to add to that is that a lot of times when your lender is telling you you're qualified, now he's not looking at your household budget. So he's not calculating in that you got, you may be paying a tuition, for your child for school or some special program. He's got the things that's on your credit report, but you may have other household expenses. Maybe you're helping take care of a parent and you're sending some money there. Those are things that would be in your budget, but your lender wouldn't have knowledge of that in terms of what your full household budget is. And so if you yourself are not analyzing that, then you'll be saying yes. And they say, well, you can get a maximum of this right here, but can you really, when you look at what else you have on the table? And so, I like the fact that, you're looking at helping them with the budget piece to get better there. Are there particular questions that you think borrowers should ask of their realtor or of their lender when they're preparing for home ownership or coming back again as buyers?
Yes, I do, Lisa. The most important question that a homeowner can ask or a prospective purchaser can ask is exactly how much am I going to pay each month for my mortgage payment? Meaning the real estate taxes, the homeowner's insurance, if they're purchasing in a condominium, or in a homeowners association. If there are any any assessments, monthly assessments, and if there are going to be any special assessments, as well as, again, if they're purchasing, because there is a lot of new construction going on in Prince George's County, if there's going to be a front foot benefit or a utility assessment that they're going to have to pay either monthly or annually. So it's very important for a homeowner when they're looking to go, a prospective homeowner, to go ahead and know exactly what they're going to be responsible for each month.
Good. Did you have a question for him, Dr. Johnson?
I'd like to say that I think that a lot of people are not aware of all that's involved in buying a home, constructing a home, and that kind of thing. And your service is really desperately needed by the average person who doesn't know all of what goes into the purchase of a home, maintaining a home, and being able to keep it on a long-term basis. And I think that that your service needs to really reach out to all people who are considering purchasing a home. I think it's a very, very great service.
Excellent. Were you able to hear her?
Yes, I did hear her. I think, thank you, Doctor. That was a very, very good point. The cost of home ownership really isn't just what a mortgage payment's going to be, and that's what I was going forward about the principal and interest and the taxes, the insurance, the homeowners association. The cost of home ownership is also the cost of maintenance that a lot of first-time home buyers and second-time home buyers don't take into account for the budget. For example, if they buy a used home, not a new home, there's usually no warranty with, say, for example, this time of year, an HVAC and air conditioning unit. To go ahead and have someone come to service that costs a lot of money, and a lot of homeowners don't take into account that there's going to be a cost to maintain the home. So that's important. The second thing is if someone's buying a home, say a home with a lot of land, to go ahead and maintain the yard. Right. If it snows, to go ahead and shovel the snow and remove the snow. It all costs money, and all of that needs to be factored into the cost of home ownership. Yes, there are home warranties that fix things, which is a very good thing for a first time, second time, or even a current homeowner to have a home warranty. That definitely would go ahead and save the homeowners money. But in terms of knowing how much money the home ownership is going to cost, it's important to go to housing counseling and to go through a budget, and knowing the math and exactly how much everything costs is really crucial to being a successful homeowner.
That's fantastic. I agree with that. I know from a realtor standpoint, I do a lot of talking to my clients about the process, and I often talk to them about the usefulness of a home warranty when you're looking at the maintenance issues, that's a useful tool. But I also spoke with someone who was currently a homeowner and had gone through a situation nearing foreclosure, but then was able to get a loan modification. But they were thinking they may want to sell their home, and I asked about the condition. They were saying, well, there were some repairs that were needed, and what I was encouraging them to do is don't let your emotions allow you to not keep your property up if you are able to, but to stay on top, because anything that you ignore in terms of the maintenance is only going to get worse, and it will cost you more in the end. So even if your property value may have gone down some, if the market picks back up, you may be able to sell it, but now you've neglected it. So now you still can't sell it at what it would have been worth if it was in good condition. So you've kind of put yourself behind the 8 ball. Ross, I want you to tell everyone how to reach you, to reach your organization.
Yes, ma'am. The best way to reach us is either if you're trying to reach us by phone, our phone number is 301-899-6800. Again, that's 301-899-6800. Or you can reach us on the internet by sending us an email at help, HELP, at ROMKIND.org. Again, that email address is HELP, at ROMKIND.org.
Now, Ross, at your office there in Greenbelt, do people need to make an appointment to come in, or do you take walk-ins? How do you see people?
The best way is to schedule an appointment with us. We can meet with you same day if you have a financial emergency. We do have counselors available that will meet with you. Our office hours are from 10 a.m. until 6 p.m. We do have appointments on weekends as well for borrowers or prospective homeowners that do work during the week that cannot take any time off. We do have weekend hours, and that's of course by appointment only. And we also offer first-time home buyer classes. Our first-time home buyer education classes, we'll have one starting on June 16th, which is a Saturday, from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m.
Okay. Now, is that going to be over at your office, 6301 Ivy Lane?
Yes, that's where that would be in the office park, and it would be in the conference center. Meeting at our office at 6301, and then they would come to the conference center, which is literally right across the street.
And we'll make sure that we post and promote Ross's class for you guys so that you'll see it. We'll have it on our Facebook page and continue to keep that. We'll announce it on the show as well to keep that in front of you so those of you that need this information can get there, and remember, to sign up and to let them know that you're coming. Ross, I just want to thank you so much for coming on and giving us the information that you have. We're looking to get you in the studio really soon to give us a little even more in-depth in terms of, what's going on in the market, what people need to be on watch for. But you have been a great guest, and I just want to thank you so much for giving us a call and sharing with Dr. Johnson and I the practical application of what she's teaching and how it can have a negative or positive impact based on the skills that you acquire.
Thank you so much.
All right, young man.
I look forward to being in the studio very soon.
All right, enjoy your afternoon.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye. Okay. Give it just a maybe, but it shouldn't be a distraction. So how did you enjoy Ross's information?
It's wonderful. I really think that so many people, they always think school is over.
Yes.
No, it's not. Whatever you're going to try to do, you need to get some training in it.
That's right.
And
that's
find
right.
out if there are people who, it's a wonderful service.
That's right.
Wonderful service.
To help keep you from falling. And as you all know, on our show, we do advocate home ownership, but we also advocate for the preparation and the education. And we're all in different places. So Ross brought out a really great point in terms of making sure that you understand what you're getting, and making sure that you're comfortable and confident moving forward, which is why we try to provide as much information from as many avenues as we can for you when you're looking to move forward. Dr. Johnson, you talked about fear, but replacing that with confidence from the acquisition of skills and knowledge.
Right. And, it begins, as far as I'm concerned, in grade K, helping students to feel good about working with numbers and math. And it goes all the way through so that when they get to upper levels, even 5th, 6th, 7th, whatever grade, they don't have a fear of math. They don't have it. They know that they have to put forth some effort.
Yes.
Okay.
Trust
they
me, I know.
that. And so they don't have a fear, or they don't try to get away from it because they know whatever it is, they can do it.
Right.
They learn. That's what you're trying to teach them. They can learn it, no matter what it is, because math is so well structured that you can learn it. There are rules, there are laws, there are a lot of idiosyncrasies, like in verbal learning, English language,
right.
and all that stuff.
It's not reading with comprehension.
Yeah, it's
it's really clear cut.
It's not all that.
No, I really haven't heard anybody get emotionally upset about 2 plus 2.
No,
I really haven't. It's just it's no drama about that. Well, I really think it's 5. No, I think it's 4. No, it's pretty much it's just 4.
It's just 4. And you can get it by different ways. You learn how to count, you can get it.
That's right.
You can get it.
Republican or Democrat, it doesn't matter. 2 plus 2 is still 4.
Right. If you're in a certain system. But assuming that we are in
exactly
the system that they would learn when they start school.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right. We gotta be all in the same system now.
Yeah,
Okay. Okay. So I wanna just mention SILMA is your acronym.
It's the acronym for my approach to teaching math.
And it's the Success in Learning Math Approach.
And this approach connects all of mathematics from K to calculus and beyond. I just spoke to calculus, but beyond. And I did a demonstration in one of my teacher training classes.
Okay.
The teachers kept saying, well, what about, is this, okay, yeah, we see this. Oh, yeah, we like the definitions that you're giving us. Oh, this is great. And number one, the only reason I could come up with these simplistic definitions is that I have had, thank you, Lord, the opportunity, the privilege of side by side with thousands of students from K through grad school. And see the authors of these textbooks. Right. Many of them never talked to a student. I've been to their companies, and I asked him, I said, well, I visited a company, I said, well, when have you talked to a student about what you're doing? He said, we don't have time to be talking to the students.
Right, we're busy getting our textbook out.
What are you talking about talking to students?
We're getting our book together. What?
But they didn't understand what I was saying, but it's when you have sat with, this is one of my, Curtis Broadway, a dear, dear colleague, brilliant young man who worked with me on working through SILMA, getting the diagnostic tests together. He observed me. Day after day, we worked, so many, thousands of hours, because we worked every Friday and Saturday. I'm glad when this is over, though, because every Friday and Saturday night we were working.
Right. No date night on Friday and Saturday night for you, huh?
This, and he observed me, and he said, what I see, the reason you can do a lot of what you're doing with the math and understand how students are thinking, because you have sat with so many students and you see the kinds of problems that the students have, and you have been addressing this in your development of SILMA, the diagnostic tests. And Dr. Macklin, she's wonderful, physics, one of the few physicists in the world, I guess. But she worked with me very diligently too, and she said, you are not doing tutoring.
Right.
You are doing math development.
That's awesome.
Because when the students and she worked with me with the diagnostic tests and getting some samples out so people could take them. And she said, because in tutoring, people just help you with the problem.
That's right. That's right.
But you look at the diagnostic test, which is in itself a miracle. There are only 8 questions in my diagnostic test for grade level.
8 questions?
8 questions.
8 questions.
8 questions.
Okay, so it's not intimidating.
No.
You know, because sometimes when you talk about a diagnostic test, it's like, open it up.
65 questions, 80 questions.
And you got to turn it over.
65
do this.
questions.
Yes. It's a lot. So,
but
tell the audience what you want from the diagnostic test for their children.
What I want to know, any grade level, I'll take. I like grade 3, but I just take
that
that's
a pivotal grade.
It's a pivotal grade because the students, second grade is also kind of, but the problem starts in second grade. It manifests itself in the third grade. But anyway, what I'm doing is I have learned the skill of taking one question in a particular area concept.
Yes.
And determining one question on that test that will tell me how much the student knows about that concept. And I take my lead, I use the National Council of Teachers of Mathematics standards, which I worked on from the beginning of it many years ago to the end of it.
Okay.
When they brought in near the
So it's
end.
not just some test you was like, let me see.
Yeah,
I'm eating some popcorn watching this movie. I think I'll put this. You put some
a lot.
Not only thought but the actual best practices for the field and development of the test.
I select a problem that if a student can solve this problem, then they really understand these concepts. Blah 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 blah.
Right.
10 objectives. They have mastered 10 objectives. They do this problem. So that's what I've done. And so that's why I could use only about 8 questions. And I was doing a test with the student. Sometimes I do it with the parent there, but a lot of times we do it online. But I was doing with this lady who had a child in Tennessee, because I've been different states. And so she said, I don't think I'll be able to stay for you to give a diagnostic test because it's going to take too long. I said, ma'am, this is not going to take very long. She said, but how long will it take? I said, maybe 15 minutes. She said, 15 minutes? I said, probably. Anyway.
Yes.
Because the young lady didn't seem like she had done a lot in her second grade. This is second grade.
Okay.
So it took her about 10 minutes or so. She said, I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to do that. So I said, well, just whatever you can do it. She's finishing up the second grade now. So after she finished, I looked at her problem, her paper, looked at what she wrote there. I can tell by the answer about how they think it is because I've talked to so many students. It's not magic. It's not magic.
That's right.
It's having sat with so many students through the years.
That's
Think of it. 50, 60 years. Think of
That's a lot.
That's a lot. And every day almost working with students somehow. Individually.
You develop an affinity and an intuitiveness about how they think.
That's right.
And when you see how they lay it out, it's very clear to you what the thought pathway was to get to that answer.
And so then I know what they need, the background, the objectives they need to learn in order to be able to master that question. So this.
Now, you guys, you listen to this because if you have children that are struggling in math, was it 2 shows ago? I did a show called Rescue Resources, and we talked about your good friend Kathy Hines and Educare in terms of the housing resource. We talked about Wasita McKinley and the food pantry that she has with Sisters United, and we made mention of Ross's organization, so he was able to share a little bit more today about what his group does. This is another resource for you.
Yes.
We're approaching the summer, and so having spent the bulk of today's show talking about the value of math from the acquisition of the skills to the application of the skills in the marketplace. And then here you have Ross telling you clearly that some people that are in trouble now may not be in the trouble that they come into had they had those skills. And not only just the math skills, but if you heard him clearly and listen, it's also the critical thinking skills, which is because the math is analytical, it's not emotion based, so it's very much analytical. It strengthens your critical thinking skills because it strengthens your problem solving skills.
Right. And the thing about, I just mentioned this lady because she was just one of them, but she said, when I told her the problems that her child was having, and she said, well, you're right. I said, oh, what do you mean I'm right? She said, that's what the teacher said. These are the problems he's having. And the student said, we didn't get to this and this and this. So what I'm going to say is that not if they're having problems in math do they need to take the diagnostic test. You may think your child is doing very well, got A's and B's. Give them the test. You'll see what's missing in their understanding for their grade level or their course by taking the diagnostic test.
Because sometimes they may not have covered everything in that grade level. I think I can't remember if I read it from your Washington Post write-up or if it was in our conversation. But you were talking about how when you were in school, you had just gone ahead and just finished the book.
Oh yeah.
Right? Before before you were ahead of the class, you were just but you were just so excited about what you were learning.
What I was excited about when I first took algebra was that there are laws. There were laws in algebra. I every time I go to the teacher, can you do this? And she would say, let me see. And I said, well, I got to go there all the time. Can you do that? And she would say, well, you can do this under certain circumstances. What circumstances? But anyway, when I got that algebra book and it laid it out,
you was I'm set.
I said, this is great. I'm going to finish the book. So they took me out of algebra 1, put me in algebra 2 before the course ended. And then I was helping the students up there in algebra 2.
You was having a good time.
Yeah. They were like, why did they have you up here? And then they said, oh, well, we're happy you're here.
That's right. Because you were able, to relate to your peers and the material and be that bridge. And that's what I see now. Tell people why you're doing what you're doing.
Well, before I say that, let me say this one thing. I was getting ready to go to Indiana and work with a university there. And so my husband was saying, so how are you going to teach them? And I said, well, I don't. And then right at the time we were doing this, he said, did you see the news? The governor is not going to go with Common Core. I said, what does that have to do with me? I don't use Common Core. I said, my test based and my program is based on the National Council of Teachers of Mathematics Standards, not Common Core. Common Core is also based on it too, but But anyway, back to what you were saying. You were saying that
to share with the audience why you do what you do, because there's a passion I want them to hear.
The reason I do this at my young age of 83 years old.
I hadn't mentioned that yet. We're going to get there.
The reason I do this is because I have seen so many people, young students, medium grade students, older students, people working on their doctorate degrees, going through all kinds of consternations over statistics over here, trying to get a doctorate or whatever. Some course. But I have seen so many of these people who have been told very negative things like, if I were you, third grade, if I were you, I never studied math longer than I had to because you can't learn it. You got to do so many push-ups because you didn't know your multiplication table. All kinds of terrible things. And then I have seen these students bloom into great students. Like I got a newsletter from one of my students who was one of the first graduates in my school, the Washington Math Science Technology Public Charter High School, before it became that. It was on the verge of that because the superintendent had put this school in the school charter in Ballou High School, and she graduated that first class.
Yes, ma'am.
She sent me a newsletter. She has now a PhD in pathology.
All right,
she's a doctor, medical doctor. PhD in pathology, Lena Gamble. PhD in pathology.
Excellent.
And sent me a newsletter of what she was doing in Africa.
See?
Her service is there.
See?
That young lady, among so many more, who are doing great things, is doing great work. That young lady may never have done those things without my working with her. She almost made she has a story to tell too, because she missed one question on the SAT, and she told me, and I said, Lena, please, Lena, one question. You look what you have. You don't have to worry about that. Dr. Johnson, I am not. They've advertised that you can miss one question and still make a perfect score. I'm writing the company. I said, Nina, I don't think you need to do that. I'm doing it. So I said, okay, do it. See, when you teach my teachers think, then
Right.
they think.
Yes, they
She was ready
think.
to
That's right.
She did. Makes long story short, she came back. Dr. Johnson got a letter back from college board. They said, yes, you did miss one question. I said, oh, Nina, you missed one question.
Just
for sure.
one. Just
You
one.
really did miss one question.
Just one, though.
She said, yeah.
Just one.
She said, yeah, I did miss. She said, when I walked out the door, I said, oh, I wrote down the wrong answer. So I said, oh, Lena, congratulations for going through that. I was trying to discourage you because I thought it was a waste of time. How did you know you missed one question? She said, I knew when I walked out the door. She said, but I reflected back, I knew I missed one question. But anyway, that's why I do this. Students who come to me with F's, D's, told they can't learn math, and I watch them bloom into great students, accomplish their goals, get accepted to the colleges they want to go to, and do well. My own children. I watch my own children. I nurtured them. I didn't leave them out in all my nurturing.
Which
my own
we do
children.
sometimes. Yeah.
I know, sometimes you, but I did that.
That's beautiful.
And so they are doing well. They've gone into top-notch jobs and stuff. But I just know that we've got to have a way to help the students who feel that they cannot learn math and they give up on learning a lot of other areas that they could have done well in. And that's why I do this. That's why I'm out here today instead of home tipping on tea or something, looking at TV. I'm out here today.
That's all right, though. That's
because,
all right.
And still developing and writing and doing all kinds of things. Because I know that a lot of the students are being left behind. It's not programmed that they do this. It's just that because of the experiences I just told you about earlier,
Yes.
all these experiences have given me a cutting edge on how to relate to students and what they need to understand in order to be able to do certain problems. They've got to learn that there are laws, simplistic definitions in whatever they do in math. And once they get that,
They
once
can
I give them
they
that
can navigate
simplistic definition,
Mm-hmm.
I did it the other day with Kat. This is a law. She said, "You got the law?" She said, "Oh yeah, that's." She was floating on.
But you're so right. I personally, my experience growing up, I was able to do the reading. You know, I read early. You know, so my reading was fine, but I struggled with math. But then I realized that there were, like you said, that there were laws. And when I understood how it was supposed to work together, it opened up so much. And it was the same thing, you know, when my daughter was coming up, transferring that because I understood her struggle. And I understood that if she knew, she's much more analytical than I am between the two of us. But once I said, if I can get her to see what the rule is and that it does this every time, you know, because that's one thing about math, it won't betray you. You know, it kind of does the same thing every time. That once she got the concept, then she was able to do the work. Now we've got some things.
That law has to be very simplistic. It cannot be.
That's true.
It cannot be convoluted. It has to be a very, and that's what I worked really hard on, making sure that all of the definitions, theorems, whatever, that are written in certain language is simplistic language. So the student understands it and can apply it. And the students love it. One of my students one day at the tennis foundation game said, Dr. Johnson, can you tell me this real fast? I know you can. I said, how long do you think he's going to tell me? He said, 2 or 3 minutes. So that's the reputation I have with those.
That's good, though. That's good. And I think that's what keeps you so vibrant. Because I tell you, you know, even when we were talking on the phone before we had actually met, just the passion, the vibrancy, and just a desire to see young people do well.
Yes.
So if you tuned in because you saw the title Real Estate Talk with Lisa, and maybe you didn't hear the part where Ross was talking about the foreclosure. You tuned in before or after, and you wonder why I'm here with the math teacher talking about math on the real estate show. If you're a realtor, you know we're dealing with the math of the transaction. When we're doing a transaction, we have to understand how the math works. We have to be able to convey to our client how, if they don't have all they need for closing costs, how they can incorporate that perhaps into increasing the purchase price and the seller giving them close. There are transactions that we do that require us to know math, and we can't confidently work with our clients without knowing that. And to think. Exactly right. And to be able, we call it thinking outside of the box, but it's just critical thinking skills, because critical thinking skills doesn't have a box.
Right.
It doesn't recognize a box.
Just has questions. And that's what I do. I teach the kids a question through our flow processing chart. That's one of the components of Silver. Mm-hmm. We teach them, first of all, here's the question you need to ask yourself. Mm-hmm. This question, and it's at the top of the box, top of the flow chart. So then your answers, and that's a job. That was a real hard job for me, to make sure I could find a question with a yes/no answer that I need to be. That's yes/no answer. For example, prime factorizations. Mm-hmm. I had to say, is this number prime?
Yes
or no. I had to come up with that question. It seems simple now that it's done.
Right.
Is this number prime? Yes. Mm-hmm. Okay, go down this way. Then only has exactly two different factors. One in the number itself.
That's right.
No. Then it goes over here to these boxes to help you to
analyze the problem.
Analyze the problem.
So now I know you have some workshops and things coming up. Now you have the diagnostic test available. Is there a limit in terms of age? Is it only for elementary age or middle school? What about the diagnostic test?
Well, we're going up right now. We have it up to, say, Algebra 2.
Okay.
Up to Algebra 2.
Okay.
The Algebra 1 and 2 have 10 questions.
Okay.
And grades 1 through 9 would have 8. All of them have 8 questions.
Okay.
And they can contact us.
Okay.
If it's a group, we'll go in with the test with the group.
Okay, now the number to call you at.
They can take it on. We have
sample.
We have some sample
tests.
Sample ones.
Okay.
I have a copyright on the actual diagnostic test.
Okay. So now the number to call for Dr. Johnson is 301-704-1795. That's 301-704-1795. Now,
or if they go to the website, there's another number that's on there, but that's okay.
You want the 89, the 8?
This is fine.
That's the one you prefer.
Yeah.
So I do have the other one. This is fine.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the best.
And the website is www.silmc.net. Okay, I'm gonna give it to you again. It's www.silmc.net, and we will have her information. We have some posts for her there on our show site now, but we'll update that with because you're doing something for this summer.
Yes.
That's what we wanted to let you guys know. She's got a summer program, so some of you made some options, but I would see if you can. Yeah, at Educare, and so I want you to consider, incorporating what she's doing there. Now, what's the schedule for your summer program?
They need to call.
Call Educare?
They need to call
this number?
Yeah.
Okay, so I would encourage you to call and get that information. We all remember the picture that came out, the movie that came out, Hidden Figures, about, African American female mathematicians that helped make the space program work. But, you have here, and I would encourage you to go to her site. And, she's been really modest, trust me, in terms of just the accomplishments that she's done. And I don't know which to highlight more, the accomplishments that she's done for herself in terms of the accolades and the personal accomplishments. I think she's more excited about the accomplishments in the people, the numbers of people that are leaders in their field that have come through her program, the number of teachers who are doing a better job of teaching academically because of having taken her coursework. So I would encourage you, as a parent, as an aunt, as an uncle, as just a mentor, to avail yourself of what we already have access to as we continue to build communities of quality, communities of opportunity, and to show our young people and all ages that there's opportunity and that they have great things in them. I want to thank you so much, Dr. Johnson, for joining me here today. You've been just a wonderful, wonderful guest.
Thank
So
you for having me here. I've enjoyed every moment of it.
Excellent.
Anytime
excellent.
I can let people know
That's
that
right.
there's help out there.
That's right. That's right. So we're going to be working on another Power Pack show for you guys for next week. I want to thank you for tuning in. Again, you can check us here on WBGR's network. You can also find us on our Facebook page, Real Estate Talk with Lisa, and on our YouTube channel, Real Estate Talk with Lisa. If there's any additional questions, feel free to reach out to Dr. Johnson, to myself, or to our other guest, Mr. Levine. And remember, I'll see you at the show. Oh, I so enjoyed